Well, Gregory, you've been in Spokane now 4 or 5 years? 3 years.
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
Great. So how many times have you done Bloomsday? Because that's coming up.
How many times?
Bloomsday, the big run in town?
Oh.
Uh-oh, you don't know about this? It's next week. I'll get you signed up. Are you ready for this? It's too late. Well, you know, there's a lot of great traditions that we have in Spokane, and that's one of them. I can share with you that Brenda has now made me, coming up this year will be 20 years that she has made me do Bloomsday. Yeah, and I've made her do it too. So we hope to see you out there.
Yeah, okay. I will try.
I don't feel very reassured about this. So coming from the Soviet Union,
yes,
going through the changes that you saw with the dissolving of the Soviet Union, going from there over to the United States. So are there any customs in that you miss from the old world, and are there any over here that you go, I really like this one? Is there anything that you can share with us there?
Thank you. There are some that I miss, and there are some that I don't miss at all. Well, I wish Joshua, I'm talking about Moses' successor, was here with us. You know why? He would be able to stop the time and say to the sun, stop, don't move, and we would enjoy the Sabbath as long as we want to, but unfortunately he's not with us. So I'm lucky that I'm the last person, because Ryan, yours, and Debbie, your testimonies, they inspired me very much and made my job easier now. Normally, you know, I don't get nervous, and thank you, Eva, for wonderful singing. Normally, I don't get nervous on the platform, and sometimes my fellow pastors ask me, how come, Gregory, we never see you nervous? I mean, you never get nervous on the platform. Usually I tell them that my answer is that I am too slow. By the time I get nervous, I finish my sermon. So I don't have time to be nervous. But today I am. Today I am, because I'm going to share with you stuff that I never have shared before. It's a story of my conversion. Of course, some of it you heard, but some parts you never heard, and I was not even thinking to share them. But as John said, that then I thought maybe my story will influence somebody's life. Just each one of us, I agree with John, has a story, right? Each one of us. And that story definitely influences somebody's lives around us. Just like our lives were influenced by other stories, including biblical stories. There are parts in my conversion story that I would like to share. But I would like to start with a verse written in Matthew chapter 13. Reason why I want to do that was because this particular verse appeals to me as to nobody else probably in this sanctuary. And I will tell you in a minute why. The verse is Matthew 13, verse 44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. And for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Why it appeals to me? Because there was a time in my youth when I was a real, literal treasure seeker. I was looking, of course, not for spiritual gold, as Jesus, the one that Jesus refers to, but you notice that he uses real gold as symbol, real treasure as symbol of spiritual treasure. That way it appeals to me, because I was looking for real gold. And the reason why, here's why I was doing that. Not for the sake of adventure. It would have been the case if I was 11 or 12 years old, you know, teenagers, that's natural. Not. I was 19 years old. It was not for the sake of adventure. It was not because I was poor or we were poor. No. I will tell you why. That was the time of my probably worst crisis in my life. I had a great psychological breakdown. Why? Because I was youngest in the history of that county where I grew up. Not in the entire history, but in the history of that county, was youngest communist, 19 years old. My dad was against that. He didn't want me to go there. He told me always, you are too naive for that, or too, he would use other words, you're not ready. In other words, you're not ready. This is serious. You are not ready. Don't put your nose into it. Wait. I didn't want. And plus the city was promoting me. Why? Because I was so-called community organizer. I was able to even found one club there, Club of Post Stamp and Coin Collectors Club in my town. And I supported 5 other clubs. So I was writing articles in the local newspapers. I was pretty active. And people saw all the reasons to promote me, to push me into membership of Communist Party. And it was not an easy thing to get there, by the way. You had to earn that honor. You had to earn that honor. And I always smile when one of great preachers who had an evangelistic crusade in Russia said one time on Trebian that he baptized 10,000 communists. I smile because out of these 10,000, maybe there were 50 or 60 communists. The rest, well, I know he used that as a term, general term for all who lived in the Soviet, because it was a communist country. But it was very difficult to get there, and I was there already. I was very passionate about it, very passionate, because of maybe my age. I was deeply convinced in communist ideology, deeply convinced. I was so passionate that I would talk about it to every day, I mean, with my friends, to my parents, and to the point of irritation, and they were just all irritated. Okay, Gregory, we got it. Okay, communism is the best, of course. So, but when I became an insider, so to speak, when I became a member, I could see things from the inside. And that's when I saw, my eyes opened, and I saw that it was just another sweet, nice utopia. Far, far, far from the real life. I realized that, and it was so heartbreaking, so disappointing. I just lost the soil under my feet, you know. It was so difficult for me. Well, later on in 91, when the communism collapsed, you know, the Soviet collapsed, many prominent communists took their lives, by the way. They could not stand this breakdown. And that's what I could understand them, because that's what was happening with me. And I realized that I should find some alternative. If I don't find, that will be end. Then there would be only one thing left, is take my life. That part you heard, I'm not going to share that attempt that I made. The Lord just didn't allow that happen, praise the Lord. And I'm glad that He didn't allow that happen. He had different plans for me. So I thought then, well, then another alternative would be maybe become rich. I thought that the wealth would help me, would bring some meaning into my life, would help me to help others, and would open many avenues, you know. Then, the place where I grew up permitted to desire about these things. I will tell you why. It was German town, literally a German town, meaning built by Germans, and was populated by Germans until 1941, when World War II began. Stalin, being afraid that these Germans, Soviet Germans, and there were many, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not maybe a million or two. Those Germans came in 1818, were brought to that area by the Russian Queen Catherine the Great. So Stalin was afraid that there will be they would unite with Hitler and cause troubles from the inside. So he decided to send all these Germans from Transcaucasus area, from Russia, mostly Volga region, send them to Siberia or northern Kazakhstan. That way, keep them far from the front line. You see what? And that's what he did. Poor people had to leave their houses. All that they had with their families, with their children, just go to nowhere. And for 10 years, 15 years, many of them died there due to severe weather conditions. So, and other people came to their houses and just settled there. Everything was there. You had furniture. You didn't have to buy anything. You had everything there. Furniture. You have all things. And almost every German household had gold. Because before revolution, gold was the main currency of Russia, by the way. There was also paper money, but gold was still in circulation. Even after revolution, about maybe 2 or 3 decades, gold was still in circulation. People privately traded, sold, and bought with gold. And we knew that, but Germans were very smart people. So when they knew, they were notified like a few weeks prior to their departure. They knew that they were going to leave their houses. They hid their golds, their treasures. And guess where? In the places that they could have access without entering the house, hoping that one day they would come back and would be able to get their treasure and have life. So that's we're talking about the attics. We're talking about basements. The houses they built, they were not like here in America. You could have access to those places without entering the house. In their gardens, and stories, real stories that I heard, of course, were inspiring me in my decision to become rich, because they were real stories. My cousin found a artillery cannon shell, big one, filled with gold in his attic. He was replacing the stairs. I mean, it was in bad shape. He was replacing it, and he found. So he obviously became rich. Another story, that's a little bit funny story. I knew that person very well. He was emergency room. I'm an ambulance driver, worked in the local emergency room. And it was a regular big house, German house, former German house. The biggest houses were turned into hospitals, into music schools, into you name it, post office, and emergency room. So this was one of them, and there was a deck without handrails or banisters, nothing. There was just the floor and covered with thick old oak boards. So this guy had habit. Every time he had break, he would sit there and smoke and then go back. One morning he came and he saw one of the boards were sticking out, almost, the nails were sticking out as if somebody tried to remove it. He got upset. He thought that somebody was playing game with him because that was his favorite spot, and he always sat there and smoked. So he got upset. He found a rock, and he hammered it in, those nails, and put that board back. Next morning he came, 2 of them were sticking out, but not completely out. All he had to do, brothers and sisters, just pull a little bit more or look under those boards. He would have seen a thing that would have changed his life forever. But he failed to do that. He got very upset, very angry, still thinking that somebody is playing a game with him. He took the same rock and hammered them back and decided next day bring a hammer and bigger nails, nail it in a way that nobody would be able to remove them. In the morning, to his great surprise, he came. Those boards were just laying on the floor, removed completely, and there was an empty wooden box also there on that floor, and he saw a hiding place. He realized what he missed. Poor guy. Almost a month he walked around, on the streets and holding his head. How foolish I was, how stupid I was. I could have been now richest person, and calling himself names, and we tried to comfort him. Hey, listen, after all, this was not yours. Relax. Probably most likely the owner of them, maybe their son or whoever, came and removed that. It belongs to them, does not belong to you. No, it could have been mine, could have been mine. So stories like this, of course, they were so inspiring, fueling. And I was motivated. I knew that I would find something. I should find, and that's the only thing that would bring meaning into my life. You see, not every conversion is as dramatic as mine. Not everybody wanted to take their lives, etc. But you need to understand that what was going on with me, because I lost the base. It was false base, but I lost it. Because as I said, I passionately believed in communist idea. I wish I never did. And that's why my heart was broken when I realized that it was all fake. It just simply didn't work. So that's why I had to find an alternative, something very strong. I was a musician, but that was not enough. That was not enough for me. The people were predicting great future for me, because I was, as well they told, not me, but that I was a gifted person, so, I could have very good career, and etc. Were not attractive for me. I needed to do something great, not just regular, something great. And I thought the money would open those avenues. It didn't work. We tried attics, friends' attics, basements. We tried, even in cemeteries, because we heard stories about finding gold in cemeteries. And I studied special signs that would direct me to treasure, And the books that I was reading back then, Count Monte Cristo, some of you know what that is, or treasure, or King Solomon's treasure, and books like that, or Treasure Island, they were just fueling more and more and more. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. And I found friends like myself, and together, there was time when one of my friends said, we should have a scientific approach. Why don't we get that gold finder, how you call it? Yes, something like that. So then that will make it easier. And we were able to find one. Unfortunately, it was too sensitive. Why? Because we would dig out rusty nails and other pieces of metal, but never gold, and we were so disappointed. So we even tried later on. We even tried on the Armenian and Turkish border, where those big projectors, they would those turning projectors that, and you had to, wait until that beam that goes away from that spot and dig again. So we found a big rock that would hide behind it when the beam came. It took 5 minutes to return for that beam, projector beam, return it, because it was the border. It's like in prisons, and every border probably has it, I don't know. So imagine us, weeks after weeks, nights after nights, hiding there, waiting, that beam goes away, we get out, we have 5 minutes, and try to dig and use that machine, whatever, and again dig and get rusty wire out or something else, and nothing. Finally, we gave up. We gave up on it. At the same time, at that same time, out of nowhere, some believers would show up on my way. It was annoying because I did not want to think even about God or religion, because I thought this was another utopia worse than communism. So I didn't want to hear. They would offer Bible. They would offer, some other things. No, I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to distract myself. But again, the more I tried to find something, the more I met those people accidentally. But now I understand it was not accidentally. I met on my way, and again, when I gave up on everything I tried, and I tried many things, brothers and sisters, literally many things. There's just no time to share all of it with you, and no use. After all, I gave up, and I realized that probably the only thing is left to try God. That's the only thing left. I knew it was not real. I knew it was just, would be in vain. I knew that it would be just a waste of time. But I said, at least I would be honest with myself. At least I would be able to tell myself, I tried everything. That's it. And I tried. While I was looking for that literal treasure, gold and precious stones, the Lord was preparing another treasure for me. The real one, just like for you, Debbie, and just like for you, the real one. Real treasure. The more I read, the more I talked with those people, the more I realized that there is something. Because all other things that I tried didn't make sense to me. Yes, I know not everybody tries to, goes through, as I said, goes through all those things. People live without God. They have careers. They make money. They're happy, or they pretend to be happy, or they think they're happy. Although I don't believe that they're happy. I don't believe that anybody without God can be fully happy. I don't believe it. Forgive me for that. So, but I am thankful to the Lord for the way He led me. Because when I found this treasure, I realized, just like this verse says, it is worth of all other treasures together. That's why this man sold everything he had to get that field in this parable. Still remember that parable? He sold. He gave up everything he had just to get that field, because he knew that the treasure he found in that field is worth of all together. If you take Rothschild, Soros, Rockefeller, Morgans, all these families together and their wealth, Bill Gates, you name it, there are more than that. You put all these things together, all their wealth together, and all other treasures hidden in the earth, including Russian, Siberian diamonds, and all together, oil, whatever. All these things will not be worth of the treasure that the Lord has given us. Will not be worth of Christ, worth of heaven, worth of God, worth of Bible. No. This is the only treasure that brings meaning, true meaning. This is the only treasure that makes you happy. I am happy. I am happy. And I tried both. I don't want to go back. No, I don't want to go back. I am happy, and God gave me a wonderful wife and children. Added more, another treasure, right? Treasure after treasure, and that's what happens. I lost my friends, and I have thousands of them, if not more than that. I lost my career, I have another career. So it is just win-win. Just the only thing I ask from the Lord, that I would be able to appreciate that treasure and keep it safe in my chest. Right? This chest and the chest, this chest right there. All right, praise the Lord.